Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Mexico Open edition of Green on the Greens. Myself, Iain MacMillan, joined once again by Cody Williams. And we are officially on the board after going over in the return of Green on the Greens for the WM Phoenix Open. We did each get a win this past week at the Genesis Invitational. And Cody, you know who else who got a win? Hideki Matsuyama.
Somehow,
From the clouds, 9 under in the final round to come from nowhere to not only win, but win this event by 3 strokes. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, just an unreal performance, but it's kind of the stuff we see from Hideki. Like, I mean, whenever Hideki gets hot with his ball striking, which he undoubtedly was on Sunday at Riviera, like whenever he gets hot like that, like his biggest weakness of the putter kind of just goes away. And like he was putting pretty decently already on the week. So like when he has a decent putter and he's striking the ball like that, he's gonna have rounds like that. It's just who he is.
Yeah, I took Matsuyama to finish top 20 the week before, so I was a week early on him, but that was vintage Decky, and there's also vintage Cantley, who I think is now 0-7, I think, converting leads in heading into the final round into wins.
Yeah, it's something like that. I don't know if you saw the tweet from Justin Ray, but he was talking about an old thing he used to have at ESPN called the almost index. And it's like the times where guys like should have won big tournaments and majors and stuff like that. And like Xander and Cantlay are both up there. And that's not surprising. And we saw it on Sunday from both of them.
I mean, I'm certainly aware of Xander. It has not happened to me often with Cantlay because I haven't bet on him that much, but I historically bet on Xander Schauffele more than anyone else in the world, and I was on him for a lot of those complete disasters down the stretch. No more Xander bets, my friend. All right, let's quickly recap how our picks did this past week, and then we'll move on to the Mexico Open, which not a great field, but I will say sometimes – in terms of betting, some of the best value you can find are these events like the Mexico Open where the field's pretty weak. But let's, like I said, recap last week's picks. We both got on the board. You were dead on about Will Zalatoris. Unfortunately, did not get aggressive enough with him. So you did take him top 20. That's a plus 130 win. Cameron Young, I believe, was 1 stroke out of finishing top 10. So that was close for you. Justin Thomas, bad performance by him. Completely missed the cut. Did not see that coming. And then Ludwig Aubert. Where did he didn't make the cut? Where did he finish? T19. So you had outside of Thomas, you had good names, you just didn't have them positioned in the right spot.
Yeah, if you shuffle that around just a little bit, we had a big week, but unfortunately I did not.
Yeah, so 1 and 3 for minus 2.7 units, just getting that Will Zalatoris win there. The only thing I hit was Cantlay. So I lost Nick Taylor, top 20. I believe he was a stroke out of top 20. Sahith Theegala did make the cut, but he didn't really flirt with the top 10 all week. Cantlay, top 5, did hit plus 350. Adam Scott, he was my pick to win. He made enough birdies to win, but too many bogeys. He had like 2 bad stretches over the weekend that just completely killed him and took him out of contention. So that wasn't ever really close to win. But Cantlay, shout out to him. 2-stroke lead heading into the final round. You would think it should be a sweat-free top 5 finish, and then all around, even heading into it, I was like, this would be classic Cantlay to not only not win this event, but blow my top 5 bet. And he literally did until the final hole, the 72nd hole. He hit a 52-foot putt to birdie to get back into the top 5. And I think there's like a 1% chance of PGA Tour golfers hitting a 50-foot putt. He did it to get back into the top 5. So it was an almost brutal beat to go from a 2-stroke lead to not even finishing in the top 5. But then a miracle putt got us back into that range.
That was a real gambler blessed situation there for you, for sure.
Yeah, that was gambler taketh, gambler giveth for that one. But I think perfect example, obviously your Zalatoris bet would have won no matter where you bet that. But the Cantlay bet is a good example of why we stress to bet on these top 5, top 10, top 20 bets at sportsbooks that do ties paid in full. Because, yeah, sacrifice a little bit of odds, but if you bet it at somewhere where it's dead heat rules apply, you wouldn't get a full payout because he finished T4 with 2 other guys. So technically, like top 6 guys would have got paid to finish top 5. Someone even messaged me about they bet, because if you remember, another thing I did this past week was bet Scotty Scheffler top 10, and I said I'm going to roll it over and see how that works. He actually did end up finishing top 10, but it was he finished tied for 10th, and his 6 other guys 6-way tie for 10th. And someone actually DM'd me on Twitter and told me they try to do the same thing, but they literally got paid like $2 on a $20 bet because he finished top 20. Like they didn't even get their money back. Like they got paid out $2. So if you're going to bet top 5, top 10, top 20, I recommend doing it at a sports book where they pay ties in full. And this past weekend was a perfect example of that.
Sorry, I was just going to say,
yeah. You open your mouth like you're going to say something.
Well, you open your mouth like you were going to talk, but no, I was just going to say, yeah, definitely like Scotty Scheffler was a big one this week with the top 10 and like dead heat rules. Like, I think that's the part where it just really sours me. And like I mentioned earlier, like, or a couple episodes ago, like I can't bet without dead heat rules here.
Right.
But I mean, you get absolutely screwed sometimes with finishes like that because you'll get paid less than your original investment. And I'm like, at that point, just don't pay me out at all. That just pisses me off.
For the sake of the show, the odds even for your picks are from a book that is all ties paid out in full. Now, before we get into this pick or into this week, I do have to say, funny enough, actually, our best bets we gave out last week were closest to the win. And if you didn't watch the show, what closest to the win is, we give out golfers who are at least 100-1 odds, and we're doing a competition with each other. Whichever of our two long shot golfers finishes closest to first place gets a point that week, and it's a season-long competition. You picked Tom Hoge 120-1. I picked Adam Svensson 150-1, and they both finished in the top 10. It was actually our best bets of the entire week. You could have parlayed these two guys top 10, and you would have made a ton of money.
You could have parlayed them top 20 and made a bunch of money with what their odds were. Like those were definitely our best bets of the week for sure.
Yeah, and unfortunately though, even though I gave out for my close to the win, a guy who finished top 10, not good enough for our competition. You get the point because Tom Hoge finished solo 8th. So there you go. 2 weeks into that, you have taken the 1-0 lead. Neither of our guys made the cut for the WM Phoenix Open. So you have taken the 1-0 lead, and I have paid my bet for last week's competition. Now, you did an all-time nice guy thing, which you golfed the cheapest round possible. I think you golfed a 9-hole round at a Muni with a pull card. Okay, like I paid you $35 for the round. Was it 9 or 18 holes?
Oh, that was 18 holes,
okay,
man.
So it was 18
cheap
holes.
golf.
But 18 holes, twilight fee at a local Muni. So you picked the cheapest course possible.
Yeah, and you know what? If I was paying the bet off within like a year's time of when the bet actually like concluded, I would have maybe, played a little more expensive. But considering the time frame, I figured, I'd be a nice guy, play some twilight golf. Also, let's be clear, it was like 34 degrees yesterday morning, so I wasn't really looking for a morning tee time.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. So about 16 months later, I've paid that bet now.
Yes, sir.
And now you have taken the 1-0 lead for that bet once again. All right, enough recap talk. Let's talk about the Mexico Open. Cody, do you have anything in general to say about this event? I know we've seen it 2 years at this course. What is it? Vedanta? Is that how you pronounce it?
Vedanta Vallarta.
There you go. Do you have anything to say about this course or the event in general?
Two things that really stand out. One is that when you look at the two leaderboards from 2022 and 2023, they are very similar inside the top 10. We've seen a lot of very guys who have played well here the 2 times that this event has been played. And the other thing that stands out about the profile of those guys is they are long off the tee, and that's because these fairways are very hard to miss, and it is a long golf course. So, those are the 2 things you really kind of got to look at here.
Yep, driving distance, and if they're not accurate, it's not going to completely kill them. So long drivers is the number one main thing, and you can find guys who have good course history here as well. Obviously, Tony Finau is the golfer that sticks out. He is by far the best golfer this week. He is the defending champion. He finished second place 2 years ago to Jon Rahm, and then last year he beat Jon Rahm. Obviously, Jon Rahm is not back this year, so it's just Tony Finau, the only really notable golfer this week. Will we bet on him? We'll find out. All right, so let's get into it. We go top 20, top 10, top 5, our pick to win, and then we close the show with closest to the win. So why don't you start us off, Cody? Who's your top 20 pick this week?
Top 20, I'm going with Joseph Bramlett, and that's at plus 300 odds. So one of the guys who has finished in the top 10 both years that this event has been played is Cameron Champ. And I look at Joseph Bramlett as kind of like a Cam Champ light. He can absolutely melt it off the tee. His consistent driving numbers aren't on the level of Cam Champ because Cam Champ doesn't know how to dial it back. Joseph Bramlett does. But the one thing that really stands out to me is that his his recent form in terms of like in comparing him to Cam Champ is actually better because Cam Champ has been bleeding strokes on approach. He's losing like 1.64 strokes on approach over his last 16 rounds. It's been ugly. Whereas Joseph Bramlett hasn't been consistent, but he has popped a little bit on approach on a couple of events and gained strokes in a couple of events as well. You look at his recent form. He's T25 at the Farmers, which a lot of people are comparing this week to Torrey Pines with the way because it is a long golf course. And like, yes, the fairways are a little bit less or the fairways are more penal, or excuse me, the rough is more penal at Torrey Pines than is going to be here. But I think that's going to work to Bramlett's favor because accuracy is his problem off the tee. And he was T52 at Sony, missed the cut at the Amex, and missed the cut at Phoenix. So his profile is a little all over the place, but I think that he is very much in the Cam Champ mold. And I think you're getting a lot of value because he doesn't have the name brand value or necessarily the same streak of finishes at this event. So plus 300 for this guy, I really like him. I like him more than Cam Champ, if I'm being honest.
Maybe we'll hear more about Cam Champ here in a little bit. Who knows?
Okay.
My top 20 pick is a guy who's completely off the board. If you follow me on Twitter, you might have seen me tweeting about him yesterday because I'm also betting on him to win at 275 to 1. Listen, it is the year of the long shots. We have seen some crazy long shots win. Even Hideki last week, still, he was like 80 to 1, I think, pre-tournament too. So even though he's a much bigger name than some of the other guys who have won, still guys far down the odds list are winning. And when I looked at this guy's profile, I couldn't resist sprinkling a little bit 275 to 1. So I'm betting him 275 to 1 and also betting him top 20 plus 750. This guy has won on the PGA Tour before. He is a previous winner. Martin Trainer. Completely off. Both my top 20 and top 10 picks are a bit off the board here, but really Martin Trainer is literally, if you look at the odds list, he's pretty close to the bottom of the list. He did golf. He did play here last year. He did miss the cut, but he did finish 11th the year before. So he does have a good course history here in terms of one of the 2 years that this event has been hosted at this course. He's long off the tee. And my number one thing I'm handicapping this week, I'm getting nerdy with it, is the grass. I don't know how to pronounce it. Paspalum? Paspalum. Yes, that sounds a lot more correct. Paspalum is the grass that's used here. It's the grass that's used at a lot of what they call resort courses. A lot of ones, if it's like, I don't know if it's actually the Bermuda Championship or those kinds of like courses that are like more Caribbean down south. It's really easy to maintain. It can survive like salt water too. So it's used a lot of those like seaside courses. And he has had success here golfing on, say it again, Paspalum surfaces. He is coming off a T8 finish too on the Corn Ferry Tour. Now it is the Corn Ferry Tour, but still, I mean, a T8 finish is pretty solid. I probably wouldn't be betting on him if he's coming off a miscut of the Corn Ferry Tour event. And it is worth noting. Now, I did say that he won a PGA Tour event. It was 2019. He won the Puerto Rico Open. What type of grass do they use at the course that hosts the Puerto Rico Open?
Paspalum.
Yes.
I just wanted to hear you say it again.
Paspalum. So great success on this type of grass. Decent form, at least in the Corn Ferry Tour event. He's long off the tee, so that part of his game fits this course well. Listen, I'm justifying a guy who's 275 to 1 to win and plus 750 to finish in the top 20. I recognize I'm taking a complete shot in the dark here. He might just miss the cut by 8 strokes, but I'm going to sprinkle. I'm getting a little crazy this week for the Mexico Open.
I mean, let's be honest though. How different is this week's field from a Corn Ferry event? Like, it's not like terribly different with some of the guys we're looking at. And like, you look at Martin Trainer, his DraftKings salary, if you're doing DFS, is $5,400. They dipped into the 5K range, and he's at the lower end of the 5K range. So like, it's with the odds and with his history on Paspalum and these resort style courses, I do think it's a worthwhile shot.
Yeah, I think he is another, like you said, perfect play, actually, if you want a really cheap guy for a DFS lineup. I think Martin Trainer is your guy. And probably similar strength of field as the Puerto Rico Open when he won that back in 2019. 2019 is not that long ago. It's not like I'm citing like a 2012 win. I guess now it's like 6 years. It actually 5 years ago. It is actually longer than I thought when I said that. 2019 feels like it was like 2 years ago, but I guess 5 years ago. But still, it's 2019. It's not too crazy.
It's 2 years vibe-wise, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, correct. So that's my top 20 bet. Let's move on to top 10. I will say you stole my top 10 bet on me, so I had to go a little bit of a different direction. Next week, I'm sending you my picks first, so then you can't steal a pick, because I do love this guy.
Yeah, I apologize, and definitely, you owe me one if you steal any of my picks next week. But we're going with Brandon Wu, man, plus 320 for a top 10. I love this guy's profile. You look at the recent finishes, and it might not necessarily jump out at you. T18 at Sony, miscut at the Amex, T47 at Pebble, miscut at Phoenix. You start to dig deeper on the profile, though, and it's a little bit more, palatable. And I think something that could really play well this week. He's gained on approach 4 of his last 5 starts, going back to the RSM Classic, and he's gained overall ball striking in 3 of his last 5. More importantly, he's putted extremely well at this course, which is a big weakness for him traditionally. Like, he's a pretty terrible putter normally, but when it comes to this event, he's finished T2 in third, or is it outright second in T3? One of the two. He's been in the top 3 both times he's played this event.
I think it was solo third T2. I think it was T2 with Rom last year, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 100%. Sorry. My notes got a little messed up, and so I needed a little clarification there. But anyway, he drives the ball well. He drives it relatively far. He's not like one of the longest hitters in the field, but he does drive it well. But his approach numbers from the distances that you're going to see, and that's another thing I'm focusing on with this longer course, is like the longer approach distances. When you're looking at like 175 to 200 and above 200, he ranks above tour average in both of those. And I think he's going to, with the way he's been playing on approach, I think it's going to really play to his advantage this week. Obviously, of course, he's very comfortable with, and I think as a top 10 plus 320 in this field, it's really hard to look away from Brandon Wu.
And I was actually incorrect. I corrected you and I was wrong myself. He was solo third last year, T2 the year before. It doesn't matter. They're both top 3 finishes.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I like this play quite a bit. I wrote him in my article on BetSide as a potential outright play as well, 35-1. Do you have any interest betting on him to win outright?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's completely up in the air because I don't know if Tony Finau's on your card, but talk about guys who have not been putting well and scare me just a lot, especially with the odds that they're at. It's Tony Finau. So like if I'm looking away from Tony Finau down the board, and I think Brandon Wu's as good a place as anywhere to look.
Yeah. So yeah, I like him quite a bit. And just to clarify, I didn't actually steal the pick from me. It's just you sent in your picks before I locked mine in for the show, and you had yours listed. So for first come, first serve when it comes to picks. It's not like you saw my pick and then stole it. I just want to clarify that. So not only did you take Brandon Wu, you have then started the show by trashing the guy who I'm picking in the top 10. And that's my guy, Cameron Champ. Now I do have a soft spot for Cameron Champ. I bet him on at 100-1 to win the 3M Open he won a couple years ago?
Ooh, that sounds right, but those events kind of like blend together. So
yeah, I think it was a 3M Open he won in 2021, and I had him at 100-1. So I have a soft spot for Cam Champ, but am I right?
Yeah, 3M Open 2021. You're absolutely correct.
And yeah, sure, Joseph Bramlett might be a little bit more of a value play. Cam Champ, though, is super long off the tee, and he does have the course history here. 2 years here, he finished 6th place and then 8th place. So he also is, and like you said, it is funny when you look at the leaderboard the past 2 years at this event. A lot of the same golfers finished in the top 10. Patrick Rogers finished 10th both years. Brandon Wu 3rd and 2nd. Cameron Champ 8th and 6th. And I think that might be it. And then obviously Tony Finau and John Rahm both finished.
Yeah. But I mean, that's half of the top 10 that's repeated. Right.
That's insane. So already we're looking at a guy who has a good course history, not 1, but 2 years in a row. Yes, his approach play numbers aren't good, actually terrible, but they did slightly get better at the WM Phoenix Open. Now he did miss the cut, so take it for what it's worth. But he lost, am I reading that right? He lost over 4 strokes with his approach at the American Express and at the Farmers Insurance Open.
That's not even
that was a measured, 4, not a 1. No, he lost.
That's not even full measured rounds either. That's only like half of the rounds being measured.
Right. So he did improve at the WM Phoenix Open. He only lost 0.69. So not good, but still at least he didn't lose over 4 strokes with his approach play. So at least is trending in the right direction. But at the end of the day, listen, we have a guy who's won on the PGA Tour in the past. We have a guy who has a good course history in both years. It's at this course. And a guy in a weak field, he at least has the talent to kind of separate a little bit from the rest of the pack. And he certainly has a distance off the tee. He's like arguably the longest driver on the PGA Tour. So I will take him to finish in the top 10 at 4-1. You can go top 20 if you want, or even top 30 if your book offers it. Might be a good DFS play, but relatively cheap DFS play, or maybe even like a 3-ball play on Thursday or Friday. So Cam Champ, 4-1 is where I audibled
I'm not the biggest Cam Champ guy. I don't have those good 3M Open feelings from the past, but I will say that the one thing about Cam Champ is he does tend to pop at A, events that he feels comfortable at, and B, when you see like some slight signs, and those slight signs could be something like improving those strokes gained approach from what we had seen at the start of 2024 at the Phoenix Open. So like he does give you a little bit of warning, and that could be the little bit of warning you're looking for. So I don't hate it necessarily. It's just not something I could say confidently myself.
And that is when I bet him to win the 3M Open, it was exactly that. He had a good course history and he showed some signs of improvement the weeks leading up to it, and then ended up winning at 100-1. So could be a similar situation here. I'm not betting on Cameron Champ to win, though. I want to make that clear. I am only betting on him to finish top 10. All right, let's move on to top 5.
Top 5. I'm going with Nikolai Højgaard. I hope I said that right. I try with my pronunciations. Not all of them are on point, but Nikolai Højgaard, Danish guy, 22 years old. But I think over the past year, we've seen this guy level up just a little bit, man. He's kind of like, he finished T33 here last year. And I think he's just leveled up in all aspects of his game. He's always been a long hitter off the tee. He's right up there with Cam Champ in terms of driving distance. When you look at the numbers, like he absolutely melts it off the tee. But the thing that really stands out to me is, contrary to what Cam Champ has been doing, he has been gaining on approach like pretty substantially. He's gained 1.14 strokes on approach over his last 16 rounds. He's absolutely crushing it. And like I said earlier, there are a lot of people who are giving like a light comp, especially when you're looking at recent form, to the Farmers and Torrey Pines. He was T2 at Torrey Pines. So I think this is the type of long golf course that's really going to play to his advantage. He doesn't have to worry about missed fairways. That's not going to be really in play for him because he's not like terribly inaccurate with the driver. It's just when the fairways get tight, he hits it so far that it kind of bleeds a little bit. That's not a worry here. And so he can really show off that approach game. I almost bet him outright, but I didn't like the odds quite as much as I do for a top 5, especially for a guy who has not won on the PGA Tour. But I think he has the game that perfectly suits this place, and I think it's going to put him in contention.
Yeah, I love him. I love the Højgaard twins. His twin is on the DP World Tour as well. Rasmus. I was early on these guys. I was a little too early. I think I was betting on Nikolai in these kinds of events last year. I should have waited a year because, he's got off to a hot start. And he finishes, finished the DP World Tour season / start of 2024 hot too. Won the DP World Championship in November, and then T25 Dubai Invitational, T7 Hero Dubai Classic, and then second place at Farmers Insurance Open. So I think it's Tony Finau and then a gap, and then Højgaard and then a gap, and then everyone else this week. In terms of just, if we're just talking pure skill, that's kind of how I'm looking at it.
Absolutely. Yeah. In terms of quality, I think that's the right way to look at it. And like you said, like his hot start, his worst finish was last week, and it was T39 in an elevated event, or a signature event. Excuse me. Sorry. The terminology changes annually now, apparently.
All right. My top 5, I'm going Chalk City. But hear me out. I'm going to go Tony Finau top 5.
Okay.
Now it is plus 160 to finish in the top 5 that's not going to get you out of bed in the morning. But I don't want to bet on him to win. And the big reason why I don't want to bet on him to win is because his putter has been terrible. Lost strokes 3 straight weeks putting, and not just a little bit, like lost significant strokes putting. But his approach play is still locked in. How I'm kind of looking at Tony Finau this week is how I would look at Scotty Scheffler in like a normal PGA Tour event, where like he's so much better than everyone else in this field that even he's going to miss a ton of putts and still finish top 5, top 10. Just based because his approach play has been very good. Gained 2.38 strokes at the Farmers Insurance, 1.86 approach Pebble Beach, 1.2 strokes last week with his approach, but his putting was bad. But now he's in a field where he is so much better than everyone else, plays well on this grass, has won this event, finished second the year before. Everything else outside of his putting just points towards him contending this week and being the best golfer. But in order to win events, and it's why Scotty Scheffler isn't winning on the PGA Tour, despite having historic ball striking numbers, to win, everything has to be going well. You have to hit putts, and he's just not hitting putts. So I actually don't think he's going to win this week, but he's just so much better than everyone else. I think he's going to finish top 5.
And I think this is the way to bet Tony Finau if you're going to do it. I absolutely I consider Tony Finau for a top 5 as well for every reason you just said. His ball, it is the Scotty Scheffler profile that I'm looking for to get a top 5 here. Like last week at the Genesis, Scotty Scheffler, of guys who made the cut, was second tee to green, dead last in putting. If Tony Finau does that in this field, he's still finishing top 5 because his ball striking is on such another level than every other guy in this field.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree. I think even though it's a short price, plus 160 isn't great. I just feel way more comfortable betting him top 5 than to win. Because like I said, someone's out there on Sunday is going to hit some putts, and it's going to keep Tony Finau from winning, even if Tony
Absolutely.
Finau ball strikes better than everyone else. All right, pick to win. You are going with a Canadian, which I like.
Absolutely. This is just a shout to you, honestly. I don't even like this guy. But
Yeah.
no, it's no, it's Taylor Pendrith at 25-1.
Yeah.
I mean, everything we've talked about with the profile of a guy who's going to contend or win here, Taylor Pendrith fits it. He
Yeah.
hits the ball a ton off the tee. He can pop on approach, and we've seen him be streaky and a little bit inconsistent over his last 7 starts, but over his last 7 starts, 5 top 15 finishes. The other 2 starts, missed cuts. And that's kind of what Taylor Pendrith is. When he has a good fit, he's going to pop. He's going to be in contention. And when you look at this weak field, I think this is the type of week where he can really take advantage of it. We've seen Pendrith over the past year or two, like really get into contention at some of these types of events. And I would argue that this is a much weaker field than something like the Rocket Mortgage, which I know he contended at a couple years ago and stuff like that, which is a very similar thing where the rough isn't penal or not in play at all. And so I think that when you look at his profile, he's gained on approach in 4 of his last 5 starts that had shot link data, because there were 2, I think Bermuda and then the other event in Mexico in the fall. They don't have the shot link data where I was looking. But also when I was talking about, the long approaches, you look at his proximity from 175 to 200, he's 7th on the PGA Tour this season in his proximity from 175 to 200. Now, when you get above 200 yards on approach, he's actually below tour average. But with the way he hits it off the tee, I don't see that being in play as much. I think those shots are going to be 175 to 200 from him, which is where he thrives. So I really think there's a lot of value with this number at 25-1. I think he should probably be closer to 20-1, if not shorter than that. So like 25-1, this is a price I'm all over.
Yeah, I like this play quite a bit. I know a lot of other people in the golf betting space are on Pendrith as well. He seems to be a popular play this week. And for all those reasons, if you're just talking about the mix of course fit, skill, recent form, he checks every single box. So so I went with a different guy, 25-1, but I was certainly considering Pendrith. So yeah, I like that play quite a bit. No arguments for me. And also it's obviously a fellow Canadian. So I like that. I'm going to go to for a different guy, 25-1 though. I'm going to go, what is he? Belgian? Thomas Detry. I'm going to go at 25-1 instead. So same price, but a lot of the same reasons. He's long off the tee. He's had a lot of success putting specifically on this grass surface. Paspalum.
Yes, sir.
Of all golfers in the field with measured rounds putting on Paspalum, he's 5th. I think it was a PGA Championship a few years ago, and I think it was his best finish at a major. Was at a course that had Paspalum. It was maybe it wasn't the PGA Championship. It was some event that he putted on, or maybe it was because he missed the cut at the 2021. Maybe he just putted really well the first couple of rounds. Regardless, he has good history putting on this type of grass surface. He's long off the tee. He's put in some solid performances lately, T20, T4, and T28 in his last 3 PGA Tour starts. I think his approach play has got to get a little bit dialed in here for him to win this event, but at 25-1, I like him. A lot of the same reasons as Pendrith, but what made me lean a little bit more towards him was his history putting on this type of grass where he seems to do well. So Detry at 25-1.
I like it. I think, like you said, he fits the same profile. So, I think we're looking at this tournament very similarly, and we just, sometimes you come up with 2 different answers when you're looking at the same profile for a course.
Yeah, another popular guy was Jaeger, Steven Jaeger.
Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts on him?
I mean, the way he's played to start this 2024 season, he is striking the absolute crap out of the ball, and we've seen him pop in. It was the Farmers. Yeah, he was in contention at Farmers, which, again, going back to the Torrey Pines comp, that's kind of what you're looking for here is guys who can hit it long and then, capitalize on those long approaches. So I think he fits it, and I think there's a reason he's popular. I worry slightly because we haven't seen him necessarily in contention as much as some of these other guys. Like a Taylor Pendrith, we've seen him in contention, and yes, maybe he didn't pull through, but that experience is still valuable. Steven Jaeger's still a little green there, and so I'm still a little worried that he might need to break through as an outright. But as like a top 5 play, I don't hate that.
Yeah, I think that's where the value lies. If you're talking about winners of this event, I think it's at that 25-1 range. It's Taylor Pendrith, it's Thomas Detry, it's Steven Jaeger, maybe even toss in Kashmir Keith in the mix at 25-1. I think if you're looking for some value this tournament, I think that's kind of where it lies.
How do you say Cashmere?
Cashmere?
You said it's the Canadian coming out a little bit. Sorry. It took me a
Cashmere?
second. Cashmere is how I say it. But I mean, I'm from the South.
I feel like I'm saying it the same way as you. Cashmere Keith.
Well, see, that's not how you said it the first time. You said like Cashmere or something like that.
I don't know. My Canadian accent, especially not just Canadian, East Coast Canadian accent, certainly comes out from time to time. Closest to the win.
Closest to the win. Yeah, I got to go up 2-0 on you. So I'm going with Alexander Bjork. Legendary DP World Tour player. Not really. He's kind of, up and down on the DP World Tour. And frankly, his 2024 has been a little shaky on the PGA Tour. But he's at 150-1, and that's probably why. He has 2 missed cuts, a T70 and a T11. Those are his finishes so far this year on the PGA Tour playing there. He's not a bomber either, so doesn't really fit the profile that I'm typically looking for. Yep. But what does stand out to me is he has gained on approach in every event that he's played this year, or every measured round that we've had this year with him playing. And more importantly, those proximity numbers I was talking about, he thrives in. 175 to 200, he's T20 this season on the PGA Tour. 200 to 225, he's T21 in terms of proximity. So even if he's not long off the tee, he's great with his long irons and those long approach shots. And so I think that's enough for him to take advantage, make the cut, and then, give me a top 40. And I think that could put me in contention with when we're talking about, guys who are long odds to win this event. We're just trying to get a good finish out of them. I think he's a guy who can finish respectably this week.
Yeah, you would think. I mean, getting a top 10 finish is usually good enough to win close to the win, but apparently it wasn't for me last week. So apparently me getting a top 10, like I gotta shoot for something even higher than that. So I'm gonna go with the guy who's been in terrible form lately. To be completely honest, just abysmal form. But he is far down the odds list. He is a fellow lefty. And he was just played in the Ryder Cup too. So we got a guy who knows how to get it done. Bobby Mack.
Oh, yeah.
125-1. This is strictly just a pick on a guy who, if you're just talking about skill level, talent level, he should not be 125-1 in a field this week. Now, he has been in abysmal form, to be completely honest. He has missed the cut 3 straight events, WM Phoenix Open, Farmers Insurance Open, American Express. He is in bad form. Sometimes guys go from being in bad form to all of a sudden putting it all together one week. That is what I'm hoping to happen here for him this week, or at least make the cut and finish higher than Alexander Bjork. He's somewhat long off the tee. He's not super long off the tee, but he is above average in terms of distance off the tee. And last time still missed the cut of the Phoenix Open, but his numbers did get a little bit better. Especially his putting, which really killed him. At Farmers Insurance, he lost over 7 strokes putting. Can't have that, Bobby Mack. Can't have that.
No. That sounds like me yesterday playing golf, I'll tell you.
So if he can just, this field is so weak. I saw his name that stuck out to me at 125-1. I don't really have any other reason. He hasn't golfed at this event the past 2 years. He's in bad form. But if we're just talking about name recognition, a guy who, when he does put it together, like, if we're just talking skill wise, he's like a top 20 golfer in this field, if not like borderline top 10. He just played in the Ryder Cup. So he was in the Ryder Cup, right? I'm not.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he was. Okay, you're not making that up.
All right. So yeah, I'll go Bobby Mack for my close to the win. Fellow lefty.
Hey, it's hard not to root for Bobby Mack. I love Bobby Mack. So, I'm other than this pick right here and, me looking to go up 2-0 in this competition, I will be rooting for Bobby Mack, but maybe not this week.
All right, there you go. That is the Mexico Open. Just to recap, top 20, you are going Joseph Bramlett plus 300. I'm going Martin Trainer plus 750. Also sprinkled on him a little bit at 275-1 to win. Top 10, that'd be the greatest cash of all time if Martin Trainer wins this.
You'd have to retire.
Yeah. For top 10, you got Brandon Wu, top 10 plus 320. I also like that pick. I'll also be on that. I also sprinkled on him to win. Did you bet on him to win? Did you say?
I have not. No, I did not.
Sticking in the top 10. Got it. My top 10 is Cameron Champ, 4-1. Top 5, Nikolai Højgaard, plus 350. I'm going Tony Finau, plus 160. Pick to win. You got Taylor Pendrith, 25-1. I got Thomas Detry, 25-1. For closest to the win, to see who finishes further up the leaderboard this week, you got Bjork. I got Bobby Mack.
Love it. Those are 2 great cards.
Really quick, before we wrap up, LPGAs this week. What's your pick?
Oh, God, I have no clue. In the field,
I know you don't look at LPGA. I just wanted to see if you could at least do you have a name that you can
Hold on, let me look at the field. You give your pick, and I'll look at the field, and I'll tell you who's going to win.
All right, go over to fansided.com/betsided. Read my full LPGA breakdown. I have 3 picks for this week. I'll give you guys who are watching my long shot, who I actually really like at 80-1. You were just talking about a Swede and Alexander Bjork. He's a Swede, right?
Yeah, he is.
I'll give you a Swede on the LPGA. Madeline Sagstrom, 80-1. Actually, a commonality between the two events this week in LPGA and PGA is long drivers. Same case for the LPGA. This is a long golf course. Long drivers have historically won this event. Madeline Sagstrom is one of the longer drivers on the LPGA. So there you go, 80-1.
You know what? I might actually join you on Madeline Sagstrom because I went down to Naples, Florida to watch the Grant Thornton, and she was paired with Ludwig.
Yes.
Oberg. And at one point, that group was paired with Lucas Glover, and I can't remember who Lucas Glover was playing with in that event, but she was out driving Lucas Glover like pretty consistently. Yeah. So she can absolutely hit the ball. So if this is the same type of handicap for what we're seeing in Mexico, I like that pick a lot, especially at those odds.
There you go, 80-1. Madeline Sagstrom. That's a group ride. We'll both bet on her this week. She's averaging, I think, 274 off the tee so far this season, 272 off the tee last year. So yeah, she's probably right in the range of Lucas Glover, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. And watching her and Ludwig both go off the tee together, that was a sight to behold. Let me tell you.
I imagine that was one of the more fun groups to watch. All right, so there you have it. We went a little long this week, especially for the Mexico Open, but that's going to happen sometimes.
Hey, we got to unpack such a great historic tournament, you know.
It warrants a deep dive, the Mexico Open. All right, that's it for us next week, or this week. Next week is
the Cognizant Classic at Palm Beach, which is formerly the Honda Classic.
The Honda Classic. Yes, so I will know it as the Honda Classic. It's not a terrible event. I mean, I don't know what the field's like, but it's usually not a terrible event.
It's a fun golf course that just doesn't draw a great field, which is unfortunate because I would love to see some of the top guys play that course because it is a really fun golf course.
Is that the golf course that has the bear trap?
I believe so. Yeah, I think that's right.
Right. All right. I kind of want to verify that before I just caught myself in a lie. It's PGA National. Yeah, that's the bear trap hole.
And that's Honda Classic for sure.
Yeah. All right. Thank you all so much for watching. Subscribe to the BetSided YouTube channel. Give us a like. If you're watching this on Twitch, give us a follow on there. Best of luck with all your picks this week, and we'll be back next week. Good luck, gambler. Bless. Talk to y'all next week.